This is very different than the WNBA and playing with the Fever. Like, this is a whole different environment and with really good players, and the international game is obviously very challenging. This is my first time on the senior national team, so that poses a different aspect as well. So no better way than just getting tossed into the fire. So I like it like that, I guess.
Caitlin Clark arrived at the Team USA training camp around 1 in the morning, and before sunrise even arrived, every official FIBA social media account had already shifted its attention toward her. Without any formal announcement or promotional build-up, her presence alone managed to transform the atmosphere surrounding the entire camp. And that shift happened before the players had even stepped onto the floor for the first practice session. Now that Caitlin Clark has officially returned to the basketball court after being away from the game for 8 months, the conversation naturally turns toward what her potential could look like with Team USA moving forward. As the World Cup approaches and future international tournaments come into view, how high do you think her ceiling could be with this roster? Share your detailed thoughts in the comments.
So, first national team level for you,
Yeah.
the game is different. Some ways more physical, other things.
Very
You haven't
different.
played internationally besides the USA younger.
Yeah.
Are you excited to sort of experience that, see what it's like to get you ready for potentially the World Cup and beyond the next 20 years as long as you're playing USA basketball?
Absolutely. You know, this is obviously everybody's dream, and I think, you know, although I've never played at the senior national team level, I've watched the game, and I've been on 3 junior national teams. I've been on 2 U19 teams where I played with a lot of college players when I was in high school and a lot of college coaches, so I kind of understand how you operate and you learn from the people around you, and there's been people that have been in these moments before, so just continuing to learn from them and learn how to operate. And obviously we have Sue Bird and somebody that we can all turn to and, you know, ask questions and get help from. So more than anything, just excited to be here, excited to play basketball again, and it'll be fun 5 games in Puerto Rico.
First, let's clear up a major misconception because many people are treating these FIBA Women's World Cup qualifying games as if they are Olympic-level elimination matchups, and that framing is doing far more work than it should. The United States already secured its place in the World Cup after winning the Americas tournament last year, which means the games being played in San Juan, Puerto Rico are not do-or-die contests for Team USA's spot. Even in the most extreme hypothetical scenario imaginable, where the United States somehow lost every single game by an absurd margin like 87 points, they would still be heading to the World Cup because their qualification is already locked in. These games are essentially a formality, which naturally raises the question of why the internet is reacting so dramatically and why the conversation around this camp feels so intense. The answer is simple. Caitlin Clark is in camp, and her presence alone has completely shifted what people are paying attention to, even when the stakes on the scoreboard remain relatively low. Clark arrived at the facility around 1 in the morning with no grand introduction, no dramatic production, just quietly showing up while most of the world was still asleep. But by the time the sports world woke up, the entire narrative surrounding Team USA's camp had already been written. FIBA's official channels had essentially turned into a Caitlin Clark showcase before the first practice even began, and that was neither accidental nor coincidental. It reflected an organization that clearly understands the level of attention Clark brings and is fully willing to lean into it, placing her front and center in every graphic, every clip, and every piece of social media content the moment the camp was announced.
Welcome.
People who constantly complain that Clark receives too much attention might want to redirect some of that frustration toward FIBA, because it is FIBA making these editorial choices. As a global basketball organization that has spent years trying to expand the reach of the women's game internationally, they understand the value of visibility and audience engagement. When they evaluated their promotional strategy, they clearly concluded that putting Caitlin Clark at the center of their content was the smartest move. Considering that the engagement numbers consistently support that decision, it becomes difficult to argue with the logic behind their approach.
So there's a lot of newness. I think the thing that isn't new is what USA Basketball is, what the goals are, what we want to accomplish, and like how we go about doing that.
It's not about like being young, age, or whatever.
It's about the opportunity to be here, to represent, and understand that you're a part of something bigger than yourself.
Yeah, Kyle! Here you go, I'm posting. How we doing down here? We guarded? Ready on three, 1, 2, 3. Red.
Welcome to the new quad. I'm really excited to be here. I hope you.
Now it is important to understand what this camp actually represents from a basketball perspective, because it is far more than just a photo opportunity. The schedule alone makes that clear. Playing 5 games in 7 days is a demanding stretch for any team, whether it is an official tournament or a set of exhibition games. That kind of schedule tests conditioning, recovery, and mental focus while players are dealing with fatigue, and it also challenges how well a roster can function when rotations constantly change and bodies start to wear down. For a team intentionally using this window to experiment, the schedule creates a genuine pressure environment even without the usual stakes tied to qualification. And experimentation is clearly the plan. Every one of the 12 players on the roster is expected to start at least 1 game during the tournament, not just receive minutes, but actually open a game in the starting lineup. That decision from the coaching staff is deliberate, using these 5 matchups as a structured evaluation process to test different combinations, explore various lineups, and analyze multiple tactical approaches. Because of that, the starting 5 in the opening game against Senegal does not really reveal much about the long-term hierarchy of the team. It simply represents the first rotation in a series of planned experiments. Within that context, Caitlin Clark's role becomes even more interesting to watch. She is very likely to start multiple games, probably at least 2 of the 5, but the coaching staff also has the freedom to place her in different positions, test her in varied roles, and pair her with lineup combinations that Indiana Fever fans may not be used to seeing.
What makes this debut special for you?
Man, I think, this is every kid's dream. I think I wrote it down when I was in 3rd grade, so just excited about this opportunity. And I remember Kara Callan talking to us, when me and Paige, and I know AB isn't here, but even I played with Ryan on the U19 team. On the junior national teams, there's only going to be a couple of you that end up making it to make a senior debut. So whether that's the World Cup, whether the World Cup qualifier, whether that's the Olympics, every single part of it and part of the journey is really special. So I know we're a ways away even from the World Cup and obviously a ways away from the Olympics, but this is still really exciting in itself. And
there has been real discussion about the possibility of her spending time at small forward in certain lineup combinations, which would be a clear shift from her natural position as a point guard and could reveal something meaningful about her versatility at the international level. Imagine a lineup where Clark slides to the small forward spot, while Chelsea Gray handles the point guard duties, creating a unique kind of spacing that opens opportunities for everyone else on the floor. Another possibility is Clark operating at the top of the key in her natural role, with Aya Wilson and Brianna Stewart surrounding her with size, strength, and elite finishing ability near the basket. The coaching staff has the freedom to test all of these combinations across the 5-game stretch without worrying about immediate consequences tied to wins or losses. That kind of flexibility essentially turns the event into a valuable testing ground before the actual World Cup begins. The roster itself also has a few notable storylines worth mentioning. Angel Reese and Aaliyah Boston are both absent from camp while they deal with injuries. Reese's absence in particular leaves a noticeable hole in the frontcourt and also shifts the overall spotlight within the camp. Without Reese in the mix, Clark's presence as the newest and most anticipated figure on the roster becomes even more prominent. No one else in the building is drawing the same level of external attention, and the way the camp is being marketed makes that obvious. The situation at center is genuinely confusing for anyone closely examining roster construction. Cam Brink appeared to be the most obvious natural center available for this team, yet she was not included in the camp. Instead, the coaching staff brought in Monique Billings, a 29-year-old making her Team USA debut after finishing last season as the 4th-best frontcourt player on the 8th-best WNBA team. That is far from the standard profile for a first-time national team call-up. The absence of Brink, the only natural center in the mix, is even more perplexing unless she herself declined the invitation, which remains a possibility. Without an official explanation, the decisions surrounding the center position come across as unusual from an outside perspective. Ryan Howard's absence adds another layer of intrigue to the decisions about who is, and isn't, being evaluated for the long-term Olympic picture. The coaching staff is clearly making deliberate choices about who receives exposure during this window, and those choices reflect a broader vision aimed at the 2028 Los Angeles Olympics, not just winning the 5 qualifier games in Puerto Rico. Speaking of the Olympics, which is the ultimate goal of this cycle, some players already appear to be locks regardless of how these games unfold. Caitlin Clark is one of them. Her spot on the 2028 Olympic roster is all but guaranteed. This is not a prediction shrouded in uncertainty. Clark was controversially left off the Paris 2024 team, and her journey from that snub to her current status, healthy, in camp, making her senior debut with 2 years until Los Angeles, is straightforward. The real question isn't whether she will be there. It's which version of Clark shows up and what role she assumes when the Olympics arrive. Jackie Young also appears to be a lock for the 2028 Olympic roster. Having been part of the Paris gold medal team, she offers a blend of athleticism and versatility that works across multiple tactical systems, and her established presence within the program makes her position secure, barring any unforeseen developments. The most intriguing roster battle for 2028, however, will likely be between Angel Reese and Alyssa Thomas. Reese is very close to securing her spot, but Thomas provides a different profile, a relentless, physical defensive force with elite rebounding and energy that fills critical needs at the 4 and 5 positions. This competition will unfold over the next 2 years across WNBA seasons and Team USA camps, making it an important storyline to follow closely. For now, though, the focus returns to the immediate picture. The broadcast setup for these qualifying games highlights the striking gap between the men's and women's sides of the tournament. TNT holds the rights to both, yet the men's team is composed largely of players who most casual fans couldn't name, featuring depth from the draft that doesn't carry household recognition. By contrast, the women's team has Caitlin Clark making her senior debut, veterans from a gold medal squad, and newcomers like Paige Buchers and Angel Reese entering the national team system for the first time, all while playing 5 competitive games in 7 days. The resulting viewership comparison is likely to be significant, and not in a way that supports the common claim that the men's games always draw more attention.